made such a small group tonight, but this is probably our last Zoom-torial of the year. So welcome. We're heading into national convention season. So our next one would have been in November. I will not be doing one in November because I will be ready for a month-long nap following national convention. Um, so welcome to our final Zoom-torial of the year. Tonight we're joined by Samantha Wilkins is here. She is our Senior Communications Fellow for the Communication Fellows. That was redundant. So many of you already know Sam as the former National Junior and Youth Director and office guru when she worked for the National Grange. So thank you, Sam, for joining us tonight. She'll be chiming in with some of her bits and pieces. But tonight we're basing our Zoom-torial, it's called Building a Positive Brand Strategy, off of two books that we are looking at as the Communication Fellows. The first one is a book called Unmarketing by Scott Stratton, which is a great book. And the second one is called Selling with Love by Jason Mark Campbell. I will link both of these to independent booksellers whenever I post this on YouTube. But if you want to buy it from Amazon, I guess you can do it there too. There is an updated edition of Unmarketing out already. Selling with Love is only a few years old. Yeah, it's only 2 years old, this book. So I highly recommend both of these when you're thinking about building a brand strategy for your Grange. But why does branding matter? Why does it matter who we are when talking with the public? And I think for a lot of people, they think that this is our brand, that the emblem, the logo is enough to be a brand, and it's not. Your brand strategy has to have more to it, and that includes a consistent voice, the kind of messaging that you're putting out, knowing who you are as an organization inside and out. And I think that for the Grange, that can sometimes be really hard because we do so many things. So I encourage you, and I've talked about in previous Zoom-torials, to create your Grange's mission statement. Every Grange can have their own mission statement and vision statement. Every Grange can have your own tagline. You need to define your purpose for your Grange and be able to market that to the public. And that's one of the hardest things is then you've done the work, you figured out your vision, your mission, your voice, and now building the strategy to talk to the public is really hard. And one of the biggest facets of unmarketing is that we need to stop selling so hard. I know I've heard many a state Grange president talk about how the one thing that every Grange member needs to do is get more members, which is true. We do need to do that. But one of the ways to do that is actually to stop asking people to join right away. Let them come in, let them see what's going on, let them get comfortable with the organization, and then do a soft sell and not a hard sell. So unmarketing really gets to the point of learning who your audience is, understanding that you need to build a genuine relationship with somebody before you make the sell, and that manipulative tactics are not working anymore because audiences are getting smarter. You can no longer con people into buying things because we've learned about being internet savvy. We've learned about doing our research into the organization. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight is what people do when they research. So Unmarketing talks about authentic connection. And that means perfection isn't necessary sometimes. People make mistakes. I'm not saying just be slapdash in what you're doing, but you don't need to be 100% professional all the time. Be real, be human, have a voice that is inviting. I think we've all seen businesses on social media who have a 100% we are professional kind of persona. And those are often news organizations, major brands like, Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer, like the big brands who have a lot to lose if they let any kind of humanity show through. But there are some of these other brands that are up and coming, like Allbirds, Magic Spoon. Um, I can't think of any others right now. But it's clear that they have a social media game where real people are running their accounts, where they are having fun doing their social media, where they are working to build authentic connections with one another. Um, through TikToks, through Reels, through asking questions, through jumping on trends. Um, how many of you, I'm going to pick on Sam right now because I can, over the past couple of months have heard, well, past couple of weeks really, it's very mindful, very demure, very thoughtful, very like, how many of you have heard that meme?
Respectful.
Very respectful. How many of you have heard that meme lately?
I think I sent that to you in a Snapchat this
You
afternoon.
did. Sam sent that
Yeah.
to me in a Snapchat this morning, of Tilden opening a door for her. Like,
Respectful.
very respectful, very demure. But other brands are jumping on that and using that to make that connection with their audiences. And they also do that by engaging with their audiences. So using, when somebody comments on a post, comment back as your Grange, comment back as yourself, even if you're not using your Grange's Facebook page, or Instagram or TikTok or whatever you happen to be on. So building trust with your audience, building those interactions, being authentically yourself and unafraid to be so is really important for the Grange, because you all know the stigma of the Grange, everyone on here, that, we were a secret society, we didn't allow outsiders, those kind of things, those are still rippling through the Grange and the zeitgeist of the public, of the kind of organization that we are. And as we work to break that down, we need to show that we are real people doing real things. Um, and the other thing that Unmarketing talks about is engagement over promotion. If every post that you're making is a sales pitch, people are going to start unfollowing you. So if every post is come to our meeting, if every post is support our fundraiser, come to our chicken dinner, if those are the only posts that are happening, people are going to start tuning you out. And also the algorithm will start tuning you out as well, because people don't engage on those posts. So there's a whole lot in this branding that is building a strategy that is manageable, because we are all volunteers, which is really hard. And often there's only one volunteer per Grange running your promotions, which sucks, but it's just the way that it is. Um, we have a limited time and limited budget and limited resources that we can't often do a whole lot. So it's getting creative and allowing yourself to have fun in this and not looking at it as a job, to be able to connect with people on a real level. So does anybody have a success story of you as a person getting somebody to a Grange thing through genuine relationships and not through a hard sell? Gonna put
Um,
people on the spot.
I oh, I actually just 4 people come to the 80th celebration at Moosup Valley, and by the end they signed their 2 kids up.
Awesome.
So, and I did that through just mutual friends. I wasn't selling it. They just came to see the award ceremony.
That's great. Congratulations,
Yeah,
Michaela. That's a
thank
great
you.
success story. By the way,
Well,
Michaela is now here. She's another one of our communication fellows. She's from Moosup Valley Grange in Rhode Island.
Yes.
so I have one. I don't, not specifically to a Grange, but at least to our state youth department.
Okay.
We had our junior day camp up at my Grange, and we usually have some youth stragglers in that. And I was like, hey, you guys should come to this. It's a really fun weekend. And they showed up, and if I told you that they didn't like it, that would be an understatement. Or if I told you they loved it, that would still be an understatement.
Okay.
And hopefully it works out because we did elections of officers. And I just, I told them, I'm like, it doesn't hurt to, because they were put on the lower side of officers that we need for opening. So I was like, the worst thing is that we have extra people to fill those spots. But if you don't take it, then you don't get this chance again until next year.
Yeah.
As and then there's another one is that I've got in New York, hopefully on board. We were waiting for executive committee approval, but for New York State youth to sell water bottles as well as stickers. And the nice thing is that someone is actually donating all the stickers to us.
Hey, great. Good work, Garrett. I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing. So great. So building an authentic relationship is really important. And it's the best way to introduce people to the Grange is by being 100% you. I know in a lot of professional capacities, people put up that facade, but eventually it's going to break down or you're going to slip up. And so rather than pretend to be anything that we're not, opening up and allowing other people in and also embracing who they are at their core is very important, because by you being authentically you and inviting people in, it allows them to be comfortable and be authentically themselves as well. So those are the main tenets of unmarketing. As you get into this, I will say Scott Stratton absolutely loves Twitter, which is now basically a dead zone. So you can skip all the Twitter chapters pretty much. But he does talk a lot about other social media pages, different strategies, different ways to engage people, ways to build promotions that don't feel gimmicky, or maybe they are gimmicky and intentionally so to get people to buy in. He did this thing where he tweeted something every day until people noticed that he was tweeting it every day, just to see how many people were paying attention to his feed and understand that he was going on. But one note that I made here is if you ask somebody too many times, you're no longer persistent, you're now annoying. So understanding and riding that fine line of the ask, but without being overwhelming is really important. So learning how to unmarket yourself, I feel like LeVar Burton right here. Don't take my word for it. I highly suggest you guys pick up Unmarketing. You can also read it. I believe you can download it on Kindle, or Amazon or Apple Books or whatever, that you can read it there. But this also talks about how to listen to the people who are in your organization and listen to your buyers. He talks about this as selling a product. I change the word product to the word service everywhere, or to the word organization, because we are selling an organization and the work that we do. We're not often selling products, although we have those too. But selling the Grange as an organization is different than selling, shampoo. So learn how to unmarket yourself. I have used this book. This is my second year using this with the fellows, and I absolutely love it. And I will return to it again and again, because every time I read it, I take something new from it.
I say I really have enjoyed unmarketing. It kind of brought a new perspective on how we think of things. Very at the very beginning, I haven't finished it yet, but one of like the very first stories that stuck out to me is how they started the book with saying this these people were going to a conference or something, and they ended up in like this multi-billion fancy schmancy hotel, and there was one of the workers there that is cleaning the floor, waxing the floor or something at the hotel, and the man stopped what he was doing, said hi, welcomed them to the hotel. And they've like, we've been to thousands of hotels and never has someone reached out in such a way, like stopped what they were doing to pay attention to us and make us feel welcome. And that resonated so much with like how we are as Grangers, as members, of how we welcome folks into our Grange, and like how we can communicate ourselves and present ourselves online in such a facade sometimes, but when you step in the door, it's like, is that really who we are? Let's make that who we are, because we as the people also make the Grange brand.
Yeah, and that's a nice segue into Selling with Love. Um, so this book talks about letting go again of the hard sale, but instead there are 5 loves that you need to have to be able to make a sale. So I'm going to go over these really quickly, and then we'll talk about how to apply them for the Grange. So the first is the love of impact. So that's focusing on how your product, your organization, how the Grange improves lives. You need to be driven by the value and the positive change that you create for your customers. So you need to love the impact of your organization. Then you need to love the client. So that's building that meaningful relationship. That's understanding that the people that you are working with, their needs, understanding their needs, and then tailoring what you are selling to meet their goals. So that's getting your Grange to find a way to connect to other people in meaningful ways again. Love the product. So the Grange is the product here. So we're just gonna, if you don't love the Grange, why are you trying to sell it? I guess is the main point there. Love yourself. You have to love yourself to be able to sell. So that's practicing self-care, self-confidence, having a healthy mindset, and building that really positive messaging. For those of you who are Good Day subscribers, which I think everyone on here is, my editorial in this coming issue is about being a self-fulfilling prophecy. And how when you believe in yourself and you have a positive mindset and you believe that things are going to work out, they are more likely to. But equally, if you believe that what you're selling is crap and that you're not going to do great and that you're going to be a failure, you are more likely to be a failure as well. So building and believing in yourself, and it's all hokey in some ways, but loving yourself means that you respect yourself and you respect the organization as well. Some of you have been at workshops where I've done this, and I'm not going to make you do it right now because we're all very comfortable in our chairs. But I wrote about the superhero pose before too, and how there's this belief, and there have been studies that standing for 2 minutes in a superhero pose, or 90 seconds, 5 minutes, I forget what the real length is. And that's the traditional Superman, hands on your hips, arch back, looking to the sky. How if you're tackling something hard, standing in that pose for 90 seconds helps you believe and achieve and feel taller and feel better and have more confidence that you're going to succeed. So love yourself and practice those healthy habits in order to make the sale. And then the 5th love is love the process. So embrace the entire journey from the first ask to closing, essentially. Think of it in realty terms, that you have to believe from the moment that somebody approaches you to buy the house to the moment that you actually sign the paperwork and everything is done. By viewing challenges as opportunities for growth, the whole process becomes rewarding. So if you let yourself get beaten down by the challenges that are in your way, that can spill out into your brand. I know I did a presentation before, it might have been a Zoom-torial, where I talk about how the messaging inside of your Grange Hall needs to match the messaging outside of your Grange Hall and vice versa. Because if you are inside and fighting amongst yourselves, that's going to get out. So if you're trying to sell a positive message outside of your Grange Hall, but people come in and all they see is people fighting, that's not matching. And so, but if you're building a positive message on the outside and people come in and you're all laughing and getting along and having a good time and inviting people in, that message is going to get out too, that you really do match who you are. And I'm going to tag into social media here for a second, as if I haven't been the whole time. But when people are researching your Grange, they are also researching your Grange members. They are looking at the people who are commenting and liking your posts. They will go to your Facebook profiles. So the messaging that you have on your profile needs to also generally be positive and welcoming and uplifting and building the messaging of the Grange in positive ways. You as a person, we as people are extensions of our Grange and our Grange's work. Because the Grange is the people. It's different, in other organizations or in other companies. If I was looking at buying something, I'm going to pick on Johnson & Johnson again. If I was looking at buying something from Johnson & Johnson, I generally wouldn't look at their employees, because in general, I'm not buying their employees when I buy something from Johnson & Johnson. I'm not having to put up with them. I'm not having to deal with them. I don't interact with any of them on any kind of daily basis. But when you're looking at joining an organization, be it a Grange or a church or the Elks or the Kiwanis, whatever it may be, you're also buying into the people who are there. So if you have those negative Nellies, or I used the example earlier, crabby Carls, in your Grange, who post those kind of things on social media frequently, maybe have a conversation with them about, let's make your Facebook private. Let's make sure, like, maybe you don't need to air those grievances so often, or maybe you need to get a journal, and find somewhere else to let those things out. Because I've also seen some of those spill onto Grange Facebook pages. There was, in my first year as communications director, I saw a Grange make a post on their Grange's Facebook page that if they didn't have help at this event, then they were just going to close down and everybody was going to quit and they were going to close the Grange. And I was like, well, that's a real positive message to be sharing with anybody from the outside who's coming to look at your Grange for the first time. So believing in yourself and building that positive messaging is important. And so I'm going to challenge you to do 3 things with your social media in the next 2 months, either yours personally, or if you are the person who runs your Grange's Facebook page or Twitter or whatever it may be. I want you to make a post that shows your love for the impact of the Grange. Make a post so this is all still number 1, that shows how your Grange positively impacts the community. So that's your first, love the impact of the Grange. Your second is your love for the members of your Grange. So show how you care for your members, or how your members bring something unique to the Grange, or how you are caring for your members within the Grange. So number 1, love your impact. Number 2, love your members. And number 3, loving the community within the Grange. So create a post that shows a culture that is inclusive, supportive, open to new ideas, how people can get involved, how people can be a part of the impact of your organization. And I think you should do them in that order. Love the impact, love the members, love the community. And it's even better if it's subversive and you're not really showing I was told to make a post that shows how I love the members of my Grange. Because what people really love is when they're called out in a positive way. I love scrolling through social media on people's birthdays when they're sharing memories of, oh, happy birthday, Joanne. It's so great to see you. Look at this picture of us having really a lot of fun. Those kind of things are really cool because it helps bubble up these memories. And so showcasing your members, showcasing your impact, showcasing your community is going to show anybody from the outside looking in the positive messaging of your Grange, but it also might surprise some of your members who maybe haven't been clued in lately. If you're not on social media, do this in a newsletter, do this in an email, do this at your meeting, stand up and say, I would just like to make an announcement that I really am thankful today for the impact that we have. Build that messaging from the inside to build that part of your brand. And encourage others to start doing the same. Once somebody catches on that that's what's happening, if you're doing it on your personal profile, maybe do it monthly. Every month, show an impact, show a member, show a community. Every quarter, whatever it might be that works for your schedule. I don't want to make this like a chore, but I do want to make it accessible and exciting and something that other people can tap into as well. And maybe start a revolution within the Grange of positive messaging. And building that excitement. And I do want you all to use the hashtag Grange Strong on it as well. You guys will be the very first people to receive one of these. I will save one for each of you. These are brand new Grange Strong vinyl stickers. They're very small. I mean, not very small. They're about 3 inches long. But I will save one for everybody who's on the Zoom tonight. So come find me at National Convention if you're there. And if you're not there, I will drop one in the mail for you. So if you guys do this, follow through, use that hashtag Grange Strong, be proud of who we are and what we're building. So I've kind of talked through a whole lot of things here. Let me look at my notes because I definitely jumped all over the place. Brand strategy. Okay, so consistent messaging, I know we've talked about before. And that's putting out the same kind of information, building a voice for your Grange. I try really hard when I'm posting from my personal Grange pages and even from the national Grange to not talk about ourselves in the third person, but instead to say, we are doing this, or we will be inviting members, all are welcome to join us. Instead of saying, Penns Valley Grange is going to do this, it's we are going to do this because I'm already speaking in the voice of the Grange. That's one great way to build that consistency. And then also consistent visuals are important as well. And some of the consistency in the brand is our logo. So using the official logos, making sure that they are consistent with the imagery that you're using is important. And building that positive tone anywhere that you're posting is really important. Building a strong brand is also being quick on engagement. If somebody messages your page, don't wait a week before responding. Not that you need to be within minutes, because that's a little too fast for some people when you're a business. But respond within a decent time frame, whether that's an email or a social media. Give yourself parameters. Like, I will respond within 48 hours when somebody messages, and let yourself have guidelines. And then build share member stories is one of the third things to build a positive social media presence. Highlight your members, highlight your achievements, highlight your successes in the community, highlight your community in general. Like, if you are living somewhere that has town pride, town events, even if your Grange isn't participating, encouraging people to support the community that you work in is really important as well to build that positive messaging. So some practical tips: create a calendar. I want to post every Thursday. Once a week for most Granges is enough, depending on what you're working on. Twice a week if you're feeling really ambitious. I will post on Mondays and Thursdays, or I will post on Sundays. And no, don't post on Sundays. Sundays tend to be the least engagement on social media. I will post on Tuesdays and Fridays, whatever it might be. And just really kind of push yourself and build that calendar so maybe you make a theme that we're going to have Member Monday. Focus on a member of your Grange every Monday. Maybe it's going to be Community Thursdays, or maybe like Recipe Fridays. I don't know. Find a way to involve more than just you as the person who's running your social media to get involved and build the rest of your Grange into this. And once it takes off, once they realize what you're doing, other Grange members might come forward and start volunteering things to participate. Utilize your stories on social media. That's more and more stories, reels, TikToks. Yeah, I guess those are the three main ones. That's what people are paying attention to more than posts these days, even. And I need to do better at this. I'm going to start challenging myself to post more stories on the National Grange page, because that's what people look at first. Because as soon as you log in, they take up the entire top of your screen. I'm trying to open my Facebook app here, but it's taking a long time. Yeah, so like the stories are, the dominant thing as soon as you open your app. So that tends to be the first thing that people click on before they even start scrolling down. So if you are building engaging story content, then you're actually going to show up further and further earlier in the algorithm. So challenge yourself to even a story once a week, once a month. Start small and build your way up. Don't overwhelm yourself from the beginning. And then just being consistent. Video always attracts more people, which is hard. I understand. Believe me, I know. Photos are great. Photo carousels, more and more these days, grab attention. Text is always at the bottom. If it's a text only post, you are going to get buried. I'm sorry, it's the way it is. But you can use Facebook has those great backgrounds that you can add to posts if your post is short enough, and that counts as an engaging feature that moves you up the algorithm. So I'm sure you've seen them. Don't use the one that have like the people's emojis, like with a bullhorn on the side, unless it's on your personal profile. Don't use that one in the Grange profile because that's just kind of weird. But use the ways to find ways to make it fun and engaging is really important. Okay, any questions so far? Or examples of things that you've done on social media that have worked?
I got one.
Go ahead.
Mine's actually, so it's a private group, but it's for our New York State youth. For this previous weekend, last weekend, I was in charge of like doing photos and worrying about the media of it. And one of the things that I tried is, because it's a private group, I have to figure out how to do like reels, so it's the beginning. But instead of posting a bunch of photos when we were doing some practicing secret work, I made sure none of the stuff that wasn't supposed to be there, like it was when we were presenting the flag and stuff, but I made that into a reel. I think it's like 30 seconds long. And that's what people have liked, because I put this, there was a song that I listened to, and it was like going back to work because we were preparing for our state session in October.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. So using songs is a really great way to bring people in. If you're able to use them on TikTok, Reels, whatever you're building in, they are licensable, so you are free to use them. I will say sometimes they pull the licenses later, and then you get a notification that you used music that you shouldn't have used. You're fine. But I couldn't open my TikTok this summer without hearing Espresso, without hearing what were some other popular ones this summer? Charlie XCX was in there a lot because that's who I listened to. Chapel Roan was in there a lot, but their music was being used on TikToks, and so people were jumping on those trends of using the popular songs because that also pushes them up the algorithm. So if you've never used TikTok or Reels or whatever before, just spend some time scrolling. Sounds like a waste of time. It's not. I promise it's engaging. Because you'll get into and realize that this is what people are jumping on right now. These are the trends and the sounds and the things that people are using. There was a point this summer where there were about, I'm going to say about a week of 1 second reels or 1 second TikToks that all use this one little whoop sound over and over again. And it was 1 second, but it was enough that it was engaging content and it was pushing to the front. Let's see, Erica. Norwell Grange in Massachusetts did a countdown to our Memorial Day open house this year. Each day we had posted a different photo highlighting activities and what to expect during the day with pictures of the same event from previous years. Facebook page had a huge increase of traffic and we had over 500 visitors come to our open house. That is fantastic. Fantastic success. Thank you, Erica. I don't think we've met. So hi, Erica. Welcome to our Zoom-torials. But that's a great example of something that it does put some work on you to do a consistent posting, but it's also challenging and in a fun way. Use those challenges, like I said earlier, as opportunities to build. Eric said, or Garrett said, you could do it past the phone, like the National Grange Youth Instagram and our story through DC. Yeah, absolutely. Do account takeovers. If you have somebody who's energetic and wants to try things and do account takeovers, pass the phone, let them log into your Instagram account, your Facebook account, whatever it may be, give them access for that day, and let them do a takeover. Here's what we're doing in the day. If you're doing like a chicken barbecue, if you're doing a takeout dinner, if you're doing a dance, an event, whatever it might be, show the behind the scenes things. That's what the public likes seeing too. They like seeing the things that they don't usually have access to. Eiley, we also did a weekly countdown to a battle of pizzerias we hosted. Okay, I'm coming to Connecticut. Because if there's one thing I like, it's pizzerias. We use Facebook post scheduling, so we created all the posts within an hour or so. Perfect. Yes. Meta business, Facebook post scheduling is your godsend. So if you want to spend one afternoon creating all of your content for the month, do it. Famous for a pizza. What is a pizza? Okay, Eiley, I need.
It's the Italian word.
Oh, famous for a pizza.
Hello, we have Worcester. We have like Worcester Street, our own New Haven, Little Italy, where we have the battle between Pepe's, Sally's, and Modern. Modern of pizza is the best.
I want to come. Okay, next year coming to Connecticut, putting it on my summer bucket list. But those are great ways, great engaging content. One thing that I like doing when you have it is then also using public feedback in your posts. Like, we had such a great time at this event. Little testimonials are a great way to connect people into what your Grange is doing, because you get the public feedback. Even if the testimonials come from your Grange members about the events, that's perfectly fine too. Excite the public by engaging the public and by showing the public's voice on your Grange Facebook page. Garrett says, use Canva to post your Instagram and Facebook. Yes, if you're using Canva to create your posts, you can also use Canva Scheduler. Is great, or you can post directly from Canva into your social media. Saves the step of the downloading and the re-uploading. It's a great process. So let's go back to your personal branding within the Grange and how individual members contribute to the overall brand of the Grange. Each of us on here, at some point or another, are the voice of our Grange. We are the public persona of our Grange, whether we want to accept that mantle or not. That's who we are. Like I said earlier, the Grange is the people, and the people reflects the work of the Grange. So when you are working on building this positive brand strategy, and I suggest bringing this up in a meeting at some point, or even casually, don't target one specific member if you have that crabby Carl. Encourage your Grange members to align their posts, their voice, with the mission of the Grange. Because if I'm scoping out Alamo Grange, I might see that Samantha has commented on posts before. I'm going to click on Samantha's Facebook profile to go, oh, is she a member? And if she's posting things that I'm suddenly like, ooh, I don't know, that's a bit off color, or that's a really negative attitude, or if that's consistently what she's posting, which she doesn't, by the way, it's going to leave a bitter taste in my mouth, and I might have to think twice about looking into the Grange again. So if you are encouraging your members to be that positive voice as much as they can, I see that National Grange President Chris Hamp has joined. On Sundays,
She posts some crazy stuff.
Well, she does. But on Sundays, Chris posts a positive, uplifting message every Sunday. She has not missed for 2 years now. She almost missed like one Sunday once, but she got in at like 11 p.m. So it was 2 a.m. my time, but I let it slide. That's one of the things that Chris does as a brand ambassador. That's what she is for the Grange. Not just because she's National Grange president, but she's the same thing. She's a brand ambassador for 5 Mile Prairie Grange. She's a brand ambassador for Washington State Grange. She is somebody that people look to, and they know that she's associated with the Grange. So if she's suddenly posting things that are off color, not quite right, the antithesis of what the Grange stands for, then it's going to suddenly let people going, well, wait a second, now I don't know so much. Eiley, I'm selective on what is public or available to friends or available to close friends on Facebook. I see things that the general public doesn't. Okay. That's true. You can do that. You can set your voice. If you want to use your Facebook profile as a ranting post, go ahead and do it. Just set those posts to private that only you can see, or to close friends, or whatever it might be. Or go to the dollar store and invest in a $1 journal and tell them to write their thoughts in there instead. um, and don't call people out, because it's not going to solve the issue to call them out personally. But bringing it up is like, we are all brand ambassadors. We all need to be the positive voice, show the positivity of what the Grange is doing. That's one way to work your brand into everyone's everyday life.
Kind of reminds me of like when I was a kid, anytime I would leave for camp or a church event or anything like that, or even to school, my parents would automatically say, like, when you leave this house, you are a representation of your home, your church, your Grange, like list all these things that were involved in. Like, you're not just Samantha, you're all of these things that identify you or that you're a part of. And I do that with my kids too. You better behave because you're a representative of this, this, and this. It's kind of the same MO for us as even with social media and things now. Like, you're also representing all of these things when you post and when you do things.
Oh yeah. I mean, being a Vonada kid carried weight in our area. Everybody knew who I was and who I belonged to. So if I did something that was negative and put a stain on my family, that I would never hear the end of that, you know? And that's in a way what we're doing here too. We are all members of the Grange family. We all need to be the positive influence, be the positive voice. I have negative thoughts too, but I just don't post them often on my Facebook. They go on my Twitter, which is private. Nobody can see my Twitter. So, that's what that's for me. That is my ranting spot, because it's somewhere that people don't follow me because they don't know it exists. Don't go looking for it, guys. I do have a public Twitter as well. So, but those are some of the things that I want us to focus on. And branding is not just about the colors that we use. It's not just about the logo. It's not just about taglines. It's not just about our mission statement. It's about building this positive messaging. It's building authentic relationships. It's working together to spread the positive things that the Grange does. And we all have positive stories, and it's just getting them out there and telling them in a unique and authentic manner, I think, is really important. So here are some actionable steps that you can take within your Grange if you want to see where your Grange stands. The first thing is to do what's called a brand audit. And that's to ask your members, or even ask the public, what is your perception of our Grange? When you think of Penns Valley Grange, what do you think of? Do you think of us at all? And if not, that's a problem too. And address those kind of issues. Look at the programming within your Grange. What's working? What's not? And that's on social media too. What kind of posts are working? What's not working? Are your own members following your Facebook page? If not, find out why. So then second would be to engage your members, which I talked about a little bit earlier, but encourage your members to share their stories, share their ideas. If we go back to those 3 loves we talked about, love your impact, love your members, love your community, encourage your members to do the same kind of posting. Once you get up and running with it, encourage your members to do it as well. My CrossFit gym is doing this right now. I'm not partaking because, quite frankly, I haven't been to CrossFit in far too long. But they're trying to encourage people to do a post a day of why I love CrossFit. And they're trying to build their brand that way and build that positive messaging for our CrossFit. You can do the same thing for the Grange. Frequently, we've done, the 7-day challenges, day 1 of 7 of why I love the Grange. Do one of those within your own Grange. Encourage your members to share their positive Grange stories. If they don't have social media, which I understand a lot of people don't, they can do it in an email. They can do it in a newsletter. They can write a letter to a friend about why they love the Grange. Because you know what that's avoiding? That's avoiding the thing that I said at the beginning. It's avoiding the hard ask of getting people to join the Grange. It's telling the positive messaging and sharing the positive stories before you do the ask. And then number 3 would be to regularly evaluate and adjust your strategy. Don't give up on things just because they don't work the first time. If you do something for the 14th time and it's still not working, then I think you can stop throwing the darts at that balloon. Try something else. Allow yourself to take a step back, take a breather, and try again with a new strategy. The things that we try don't always work. The posts that we post don't always work. The way that we try to engage people doesn't always work. So, allow yourself the stumble, look at those challenges as opportunities, and move forward in building a positive message in some other way. And then commit to genuine communication on platforms. Talking like a robot will not sell, but allowing your voice, your personal voice to shine through, allowing people to know who you are is really important. If suddenly somebody took over my Facebook and started posting things that didn't sound like me, I think you all would notice. Those of you who are my Facebook friends, I think you would suddenly be like, I don't think that's Phil talking anymore. And that's a great way to let your Grange voice show as well. If you develop a voice in the way that your Grange interacts with the community, let that be an authentic voice as well. You don't need to be contrived. You don't need to force things. Let yourself have the unique and authentic interaction with one another. So we're near the end. Do you guys have any questions, thoughts, concerns, ideas that have popped up tonight about building the positive messaging and the positive brand strategy for your Grange?
One thing I think that I've been working on here at Turkey Hill is that the membership really has to understand what the Grange is before they can actually go out and sell it. So I've been trying to work on making sure people understand the basics. Some of the brochures that National puts out and handing those out at the meetings. I think that's really the first step, because it's anything I've tried to sell, if I didn't understand it, it really didn't work.
Oh God, yeah. An idea would be to look at the programming that the Grange offers, and each meeting, or if you want to do it in person, highlight one good thing that the Grange is doing, one program that the Grange has, one of the things that we stand for, community service, family. You can look at the points of the mission statement and say, like, this is why the Grange stands for this, and you can build a program around that. You could also build a Facebook post series around the mission statement. If your Grange develops its own mission statement, you could develop a Facebook series around that of, here's why we chose these values for our Grange and why we stand for these things. In a way, that's what the Grange Heirloom program is that when Amanda developed the program, she pulled these snippets out of our ritual, out of the founding documents, out of the things that the Grange stands for and works from, so that we can highlight, here's who the Grange is and here's why we believe in these things, and why we're working for them. And that's a great way to engage your members. That's a great way to educate your community. And it's a great way to build the positive messaging of the Grange. And if you don't understand, not you personally, Steve, but you as a Grange member or somebody doesn't understand why we have picked these things or why we stand for these things, ask the questions. That's what longtime Grange members are here for. That's what Grange leadership is around for, is to allow you to ask the question and say, why is this in our policy, or why is this in our ritual, and what does this mean? I'm always working to educate myself in the Grange as well. I work for the Grange. It's my full-time job, and I'm still learning things every day about the things that we work on and the things that we do and why we've done them this way. Anyone else?
Bill, I would add, one of the things that 5 Mile Prairie does is every single Canva ad or or thing that we print has our quilt block on it. I know you've created some things for us in the past, and you know, we make sure that we've got that quilt block on, and that's what our community has come to know, that if it's got that quilt block, then it's our event, because that 12 by 12 quilt block on the end of the building is kind of our signature. So if you've got something like that, that kind of helps brand your stuff as well, and it helps us keep focused to try to keep the same look, right? It's kind of what you do, making sure that National Grange is using the same colors and the same look, so that people get to recognize that that's us, and not you know, not somebody else pretending to be us.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can build your own Grange's logo. North Carolina Grange, while they use the Grange emblem, they have a different six-sided that says NC in the middle and has six sheaves of, or six shocks of wheat coming out of the side. They built their own brand because they said, you know, this feels like the National Grange's brand, but it's not necessarily our state Grange's brand. And so to brand something for NC Grange, this way people know it's us and only us talking whenever we're doing these things, and it's our event and it's our look. I have one for Penns Valley Grange that it's just a simple banner kind of thing that I always put down from the top of Penns Valley Grange's posts. So it looks like it's a banner that's hanging there that says Penns Valley Grange, Spring Mills, PA around it, around our emblem. So those kind of branding things are great tips and tools too, to create that image and that look for your Grange. And that goes with your voice. It's part of your voice is your look. Okay, so a little bit of summary tonight. So again, the two books, if you want to write them down again, that I talked about tonight were Unmarketing by Scott Stratton. Excellent book. Carrie knows because she was a fellow last year, so she has this too. And then Selling with Love by Jason Mark Campbell. And so the key takeaways tonight I want you to think about when building a brand strategy is loving what you do, being authentic, being consistent, and understanding that your personal voice is important. I feel that sometimes we lose our personalities to the overwhelming force that is the Grange and the overwhelming personality of the Grange itself. But our personalities, our individuality, our stories, our experiences, that's what makes our Grange unique. You know, when I step into a Grange where I see that there's love and excitement and these people clearly have love for what they do and get along with one another and are working together, that's exciting to me, because that means that they have found how their personalities and uniqueness work together with each other. And that's exciting because it's much better than walking into a Grange meeting where everybody is sitting still at the sides of the hall and they're not really talking to each other because it's time for the meeting to start. That doesn't excite me. And I know that sometimes that has to happen, but letting people be their authentic selves and inviting your community to be authentic when interacting with you is really important. We need to break down the stigma that we are a standoffish organization. We need to get rid of the idea that we're stuffy and unapproachable, because that's not who we are anymore. We need to be this driving force in our communities and this active voice working on behalf of our communities and not just the interests of the Grange. I think it's really important for us to realize that each of us brings something important to the table, and to let your personality shine when talking about the Grange, let your personality shine when being that brand ambassador for the Grange. And quite frankly, if you're in a Grange where they don't want your personality to shine, there are others to pick from. And there are other Granges where you will find a place that you belong and that your voice is allowed to shine, and you're allowed to have your opinions, and you're allowed to have your ideas, and you're allowed to really work for your community and build that excitement. So if you don't have that place, ask me and I will connect you with another Grange or with Amanda, our membership director, who can help you find that. Jay has his hand raised like a good student.
We've reorganized a couple of Granges recently, and so it was a room full of people that really didn't have any Grange experience. And I found that just being really totally relaxed and answering questions and, projecting comfort and happiness about, what these people are coming together to attempt, really was super helpful. So we had 3 Granges that we reorganized. 2 of them are really taking well, and one of them is a little bit concerning, but I think we can fix it. But I think just being relaxed and not tight is super helpful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let yourself hear the concerns of the community or the concerns of your Grange. Let yourself be yourself. So I was out at Illinois State Session last weekend, and Lynette, when she introduced me, said that I was going to bring a lot of excitement to their session. She said, Phil's an exciting person, and I was like, well, I don't know, that's a lot to live up to. And she was like, well, you are. She's like, that's who you are. Embrace it. And that's when I do presentations, I'm not a stuffy presenter. I'm kind of an in-your-face, let's talk about this, let's have a conversation kind of presenter. Like even on these, I could sit here and have a PowerPoint, have a slideshow and be like, well, what we're going to talk about tonight is building a brand. And that's not who I am. That's not what I want this to be. That's not what I want to present, because that's not who I am. That's not comfortable for me, and I don't think it would be comfortable for you guys either, because it would be very clear that I'm not comfortable. So I think it's really important for us to build these relationships with the people that we're meeting within the Grange, build the relationships with your community. By quick show of hands, how many of you have done a series of fundraisers or events where the same people from your community show up over and over again? How many of you have those? How many of you know those people by name when they walk in and call them by name? That's an important way, I think, to connect with your community. I know, so one of my Granges at Eagle, we do a bi-monthly, roughly, takeout dinner. And we have the same people who come back to every takeout dinner, and understanding who they are, talking with them, inviting them in, makes them feel like they are a part of the Grange, even though they're not members. They get excited that we say hi to them when they walk in. They know us by name now. It's just a great way to connect with them and build that excitement in the community, and let them know that your community is a valued part of your Grange too. Even if you're not a member, we're working for the community. So letting the community know that they are part of who we are, I think, is really important. And that's where I'll end tonight. Because I could just keep going. You all know that. Do you guys have any other thoughts, any questions, concerns, ideas? Have I excited you at least? Jazz hands from Jay. That's always appreciative. Thank you all again for being here tonight. Eiley just said, very demure, very mindful, has several dozen people who have applied to trademark it. Well, since I'm not making money off of this, I don't have to claim that trademark tonight. I will redact that from the post from when I said that earlier. So thank you all. We'll end the official recording here. I'm gonna hang out for a bit. So thank you all again for being here. You guys rock. Thanks for being Grange strong.